Hello everyone. Please tell me, which city are you listening from? What time is it there? Is everything okay? Or does it feel like someone's watching you? I don't usually check the shared folder. It's one of those automatic backup things. You know, cloud sync across devices. I set it up once, years ago, and forgot about it. It just quietly collects whatever my phone records, photos, screen, captures videos. But a few nights ago, I was clearing out old storage, and I opened it out of habit. And that's when I found it. A file I didn't recognize. Dated 2 nights ago. Labeled only with a timestamp, 3:17 a.m. The thumbnail was dark. Too dark to make out. I opened it, and for a long time, I didn't understand what I was looking at. Just a grainy video, dim lighting, low quality shadows. Then the angle shifted slightly, and I recognized the room. It was my bedroom. The curtains, the shelves, the bed. Me asleep. I was lying on my side, facing the wall. Breathing slow, completely still. I watched the full minute and a half, waiting for something to happen. Nothing did. It just sat there, a silent recording of me sleeping. But here's the thing, I didn't record it. I don't own a camera that could have taken that angle. The footage was from waist height, like it had been recorded standing in the corner of the room, facing the bed. I live alone. There's no one else who could have filmed it. I checked the file info. It wasn't on my phone's local storage. Only in the cloud. Uploaded from a device labeled unrecognized. No name, no serial number. Just that word. I didn't know what to do. I checked every inch of the apartment, closets, cabinets. Even the crawl space behind the hallway panel. Nothing. No hidden cameras. No signs of entry. The door had been locked from the inside, just like every night. I didn't sleep that night. Stayed awake in the living room, all the lights on. At 3 a.m., I turned my phone off, put it in a drawer, didn't open the shared folder again. The next morning, there was another video, same timestamp, 3:17 a.m. I hadn't used the phone, I hadn't turned it on, but there it was, another minute-long clip of me sleeping. This time, I was on my back, face visible. But what made me freeze, what made the blood leave my hands, was the figure standing at the edge of the frame, still barely visible in the dark. Not moving, just watching. I rewound, frame by frame, and at the 42-second mark, it tilted its head slightly. Not like a glitch, not a trick of light. A gesture, deliberate, human. But I don't know who or what it was. I checked the room again. Nothing. I even placed tape across the closet door to see if it moved. I stayed up that night too. This time, I watched the room. No lights, phone off, just me, waiting. I didn't hear anything, but at exactly 3:17 a.m., I felt something shift. The room didn't change. The shadows didn't move. But something passed through it. A presence. Like I was no longer the only one breathing. I held my breath. And I swear just for a moment, I heard a whisper right behind me. I turned, no one there. But the next morning, when I opened the shared folder, there were 3 new videos. All from different angles. All from inside the bedroom. And one of them was taken from under the bed. I haven't slept since. I moved to a hotel. Turned off the phone. Got a new number. Factory reset everything. But the cloud drive, it's still there. And today, it updated again. New file. No thumbnail. Just a black screen. But when I play the audio, I hear my own voice whispering, repeating the same sentence over and over. Come back, I'm still here. And I don't remember saying that. I don't remember recording anything. But when I checked the final seconds, I heard a second voice, whispering back, I never left. I don't usually use voice assistants. Not seriously, anyway. I had one installed on my phone by default. The kind that wakes up when you say its name. I never relied on it, just used it for setting timers, weather reports, random stuff. But for the last few weeks, I'd started hearing it wake up on its own. It would chime when I hadn't said anything. That soft little tone, like it's waiting for instructions. At first, I figured it was a bug. My apartment isn't big. 1 bedroom, half kitchen, dim lighting. I work from home, mostly in silence. So when the voice assistant would go off by itself, it was noticeable. The first time, it just said, sorry, I didn't catch that. Middle of the night. No lights on, no sound in the room. Just me, reading. I looked over at the phone. It lit up, then went dark again. I shrugged it off. Told myself maybe I muttered something. Maybe I triggered it without realizing. But then it happened again and again. Always after midnight. Always when the apartment was silent. I started turning the assistant off at night. Manually. Settings gives permissions, gives disable. Still, the chime would come. That same tone, like it was waiting, even when it was disabled. One night, I was in bed, just about to fall asleep, when I heard the chime again, from the desk. Phone lit up. Then the voice said, would you like me to repeat that? I hadn't said anything. Not a word. I sat up. Watched the screen fade back to black. I thought maybe I was being hacked. So I checked everything. Reset my phone. Changed passwords. Updated the software. That worked for a while. But then, it escalated. One night, I got up around 3 a.m. to get water. The phone was on the kitchen counter. As I passed by, it chimed. Screen glowing softly in the dark. Then it said, he's watching you. I froze. Looked around. Nothing. No one. Just silence. I turned the phone off completely. Powered it down. Put it in a drawer. And still, the next night, it chimed and said, he's closer now. I started sleeping with the lights on. The phone stayed off. I bought an analog clock, unplugged my smart speaker, removed all assistant apps from every device I owned. Still, the messages came, sometimes through headphones, sometimes in the middle of voice memos I never recorded, but always the same voice, always calm, neutral, emotionless, like it wasn't warning me, like it was reporting something, like it was following instructions. 2 nights ago, I woke up to the phone on my pillow. It was powered on, even though I had left it in the drawer, battery at 2%, and when I picked it up, a notification blinked, reminder set, 3:13 a.m. He's inside the room. I didn't set that. The reminder went off 10 seconds later. The chime sounded the voice. Said it again, clear, calm, final. He's inside the room. I didn't move, didn't turn my head, didn't breathe too loud. I just stared. Straight ahead at the door. It was closed. But I could feel it. Not movement, just presence. Like air shifting in a way that didn't belong to me. I sat there until morning. Didn't sleep. Didn't blink for too long. Eventually, the phone died. But before it did, it said one more thing. It whispered it. So soft, I had to hold it close to my ear. Don't make him repeat himself. I haven't turned it back on since. I don't think I will. Because if he's still in the room, I don't want to know what happens if I answer. I don't like asking questions I can't handle the answers to. But sometimes, life doesn't wait for you to be ready. Sometimes, the question finds you anyway. I met Mara at a quiet little bookstore tucked between two antique shops. She worked there. We started talking about a poetry book. I can't even remember which one. She smiled like she knew too much, and said I wouldn't like the ending. She was right. We started seeing each other. Slowly at first. Coffee, late walks, shared silences. There was something about her. She always felt just slightly elsewhere. Like part of her was listening to something I couldn't hear. But I didn't ask. Not at first. It wasn't until we started staying over at each other's places that I noticed something strange. Every night, just after midnight, her phone would buzz, always once. Never twice. She never looked surprised. She never replied. She would just glance down, stare at the screen for a few seconds, lock it again, and put the phone face down. It was always the same number. No name, no picture. Just unknown. After a few weeks, I asked, "Someone keeps texting you," I said. She looked at me for a long moment, then said calmly, "It's my sister." I paused. "You never mentioned she died 2 years ago," she said. And then she turned over in bed and closed her eyes like it was nothing. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I didn't bring it up. Neither did she. But the messages kept coming. Night after night. Same time, same pattern. Buzz, glance, silence. One night when she got up to use the bathroom, I looked at her. Phone? I shouldn't have. I know that, but I did. There were only a few messages saved. The newest one just said, "Tell him you hear me too." The one before that, "I don't like the way he looks at me." I scrolled up. Every message was from unknown. No timestamps. Just short phrases. "I'm in the corner tonight. You forgot my name again. Stop pretending I'm not here." My chest tightened. I locked the phone and placed it back where it was. She never said anything about it. Never asked if I'd seen, but later that night, after we turned off the lights, she whispered into the dark, "You weren't supposed to read them." I didn't know what to say. I just lay there, cold, listening to her breathe. Eventually, I asked, "Why do you keep them?" She said, softly, "Because I promised I would listen." I asked what she meant. Mara told me that when her sister died, sudden accident, she said, didn't go into detail. The messages started a week later. At first she thought it was someone playing a cruel joke. She changed her number. The texts still came. New number, new phone. Still, every night at 12:03 a.m., one message. And always from the same number. 6 digits. No country code. Nothing traceable. I asked if she ever replied. She said she tried once. Just once. She texted, "Who is this?" The reply came instantly. "You know," I asked if the messages ever stopped. She said they did once, for 3 nights. But on the fourth night, her phone buzzed 13 times in a row. She didn't open them, just deleted all 13, turned the phone off. But that night, she woke up to find her old childhood doll sitting upright on the dresser. The one that had been packed away in her parents' attic for years. She hadn't seen it since the funeral. I don't know what I believe. I don't know what's possible. But I do know that every night, when the clock hits 12:03, her phone still buzzes once. Just once. Sometimes she cries, not loudly. Just softly, like she's afraid of being heard. Other times she just smiles, like it hurts, and whispers, "Okay, I'm still listening." I don't ask any more. I don't check her phone. But every so often, she asks me a question. Just once in a while. Always quietly. Do you hear it too? I never know how to answer. Because lately, I think I do. Just after she falls asleep. I hear the faintest vibration from my phone, even though it's off. Even though it has no service. And when I look, there's always one notification. From no one, no name, no number. Just 5 words. Don't forget, I'm still here. It was 3:16 a.m. when I first noticed it. I'd woken up without a reason. No sound, no dream I could remember. Just a quiet pull out of sleep. The room was dark. Still, phone face down on the nightstand, screen dim. But for some reason, I reached for it anyway. Maybe just habit. The screen lit up with a soft blue glow. At the top, there was a notification I hadn't seen before. Connected to device. Unknown _audio _43. It didn't make sense. I don't keep Bluetooth on overnight. And even if I had, there's nothing in my apartment to connect to. No smart speakers. No wireless headphones nearby. No TVs with pairing mode. Just me, my phone, and silence. I opened the settings. Sure. Enough. Bluetooth was on, active, and connected. I tapped the device name, tried to disconnect. It wouldn't let me. No error message. Just nothing. The little spinning wheel circled once. Then it said, connected, again. I checked the list of saved devices. It wasn't there before. Nothing with that name. It didn't even match a product. No brand. No speaker model. Just that name. Unknown _audio _43. I turned off Bluetooth entirely. Then Wi-Fi. Then airplane mode. Everything. The connection remained. I restarted the phone. That finally cleared it. I stared at the blank screen for a few minutes. Then turned on the flashlight and checked the room. Nothing had changed, but I didn't go back to sleep. In the morning, I tried forgetting about it. Told myself it was a glitch. But when I checked the phone again, the device was back. Not connected this time. Just listed idle, like it was waiting. I removed it. Cleared the list. Turned off all auto pairing. That night, I placed the phone in the kitchen. Far from the bed, Bluetooth off. Still, I woke up around the same time. Something pulled me out of sleep. When I walked into the kitchen, the phone was lit, and the connection was back. Connected to unknown _audio _43. The timestamp said it connected 3 minutes ago, while I was asleep. I stared at the screen, unsure of what to do. Then, without me touching anything, the phone opened the voice recorder app. Just for a second, then it closed itself. I checked the recordings folder, empty. But in my file manager there was a hidden folder, unlabeled, inside, one file. No name, no extension. I played it. It was silent at first, just ambient noise. Room tone, then a faint rustling, like fabric, followed by a low hum. Not a machine, not electrical. It sounded human, soft, deliberate. Then something whispered. I couldn't make out the words, but it was close, too close. Like someone had stood directly above the phone, or right beside the bed. I deleted the file, then reset the phone. Factory reset. New SIM, new account. I even kept Bluetooth off from the first setup screen. That night, I placed the phone in a drawer, wrapped it in a towel, turned off all radios. Battery saver, do not disturb. I even locked the screen with the password. Still, at 3:16 a.m., I woke up. The room was quiet, but I felt something strange. Not fear, just watched. I opened the drawer. The phone was on. Screen unlocked. And at the top, connected to device, unknown_audio_43 this time, there was a new notification underneath. Recording saved. I didn't touch it, just turned it off and left it off. I bought a new phone the next day, brand new, numbered. Backups. Nothing transferred. For 2 nights, everything was normal. Then, last night, the new phone vibrated, once soft, no number, no message. Just one notification. Pairing complete, unknown_audio_43, and when I opened my audio folders, there was a file already saved. It was titled, Breathing, WAV, and the timestamp was from 3:16 a.m., even though the phone had been turned off. Even though I had been asleep. Even though I sleep alone. It was one of those nights where the house felt too quiet. You don't really notice it until everything settles. The dishwasher stops. The heater clicks off. Even the fridge hum fades. That's when silence becomes sharp, almost heavy. Was sitting on the couch, folding laundry, trying not to fall asleep. The baby had gone down a little earlier than usual. 9 months old, light sleeper. We kept the monitor on the side table beside the couch, always on low volume, just in case. Normally it was quiet, soft, static, the occasional sigh, or the faint rustle of blankets. I'd gotten used to those sounds. They were comforting in a way. But that night, just after midnight, something changed. It was subtle. The static shifted. Not louder, just clearer. Then I heard music. Soft, sweet, a lullaby. It sounded like it was coming from inside the room. Faint piano notes, slow and even. No lyrics. But here's the thing. We never used lullabies. We never programmed anything into the monitor. No built-in songs, just audio. That's all we needed. I picked it up, stared at the screen. The room was dark, lit only by the hallway nightlight. The crib was still. He was asleep. But the music kept playing. I turned to my partner, asked if they'd ever heard it before. They hadn't. I checked the monitor's settings. Nothing. No playback mode. No alerts. No reason it should be playing anything at all. We thought maybe it was interference. Sometimes baby monitors pick up signals from neighbors' monitors. Or so I've read. I turned it off. Just for the night. Next morning, I checked again. The monitor was fine. No new files. No audio logs. I let it go. But the next night, the same time, the lullaby came back. This time, I left the monitor on, let it play. I listened closely. The melody was familiar, but not in the way songs usually are. More like something I had heard as a child. Feeling, not a memory. I walked into the nursery to see if anything was actually playing there. The air was cold, colder than the rest of the house. Not freezing, just enough to feel different. The baby was asleep, hands curled near his chin, peaceful, safe. But the music was louder now, still coming from the monitor, but not echoing in the room itself. Like the sound was being added, not picked up. I picked him up gently and brought him to our room. We unplugged the monitor. The lullaby stopped. Everything felt normal again, until the night after that. We didn't plug the monitor in, didn't even take it out of the drawer. Still, at 12:03 a.m., the music started playing. Not from the drawer, from the baby's room. Soft, slow, the same lullaby. We stood outside the door, not sure what to expect. There was no light on inside, no electronics, just the song. I opened the door. The room was empty, the crib untouched, blankets folded, no baby. My heart stopped for a second, until I remembered he was already in our bed safe. But the crib was different. On the mattress there was an indentation, small, like a child had been lying there, and on the pillow, an old stuffed animal. Not ours. Worn fabric, faded pink, something we didn't own. I didn't move. The music faded, and then stopped completely. We searched the entire house. Nothing. Checked cameras, windows, everything. There was no sign of a break-in, and the baby never stirred. The next morning the stuffed animal was gone. And the monitor, still unplugged, had a new notification. Lullaby playback, complete 12:03 a.m. It didn't say what lullaby or where it came from. That afternoon, I called the manufacturer, asked if the monitor had built-in music. The woman on the line paused for a long time, then she said, "That model doesn't support playback." I thanked her and hung up. We bought a new monitor that day. Different brand, different frequency. It worked fine. But 3 nights later, at 12:03 a.m., the new monitor buzzed, lit up, and the same lullaby began to play. This time, there were words, so faint I could barely hear them. A voice, distant and childlike, whispering, "Go to sleep, little one. Don't forget, you're not alone." I turned it off. Now we don't use a monitor at all. We keep the baby in our room, in a bassinet. And at midnight, we keep the door shut tight. But sometimes, I still hear the lullaby. Not through a monitor, not through a speaker. Just in the air, soft, familiar. And sometimes, the baby smiles in his sleep. Like he remembers it too. I never really liked watches, but the smartwatch was a birthday gift. A thoughtful one, too, with a sleek black band, sleep tracking, heart rate monitor, the works. My partner said it would help with my insomnia, keep me accountable. So, I wore it every night, and I admit, it did help at first. I got into the habit of checking my sleep quality each morning, scrolling through those neat little graphs showing how often I woke up, how long I was in REM, what my average heart rate was. It made things feel trackable, like I could finally see what was wrong with me. But about a month in, I noticed something strange. It started small. The watch would say I had slept deeper than I remembered, or that I had a sudden spike in heart rate during the night, even though I hadn't moved, at least not that I remembered. One morning, it claimed I had gone for a walk at 2:43 a.m., a full 7-minute loop, 230 steps. But I never left the bed. I chalked it up to a bug. Maybe the band was too loose. Maybe it picked up phantom data from being jostled in my sleep. But it kept happening. I'd wake up to see movement patterns, pulse data, sometimes even GPS routes, all logged between 2 and 3 a.m., and always the same rhythm, slight movement, then a spike in pulse, then stillness, like something or someone had worn it. Briefly. So, I started removing the watch at night, just to test it. I'd take it off before bed, and leave it on the nightstand flat, still face up. No chance of accidental tracking. And yet, the next morning, pulse detected, 61 BPM, at 2:17 a.m., 3 minutes of recorded movement, steps, 36, distance, 18 meters. I didn't know what to think. I checked my apartment. Everything was locked. Nothing moved. No signs of anything. But the data was there, precise. Not a glitch. It was tracking someone. I kept it on the nightstand again the next night. But this time, I angled it slightly. Put a glass of water right beside it, just in case anything brushed past. At 2 a.m., I was still awake. I kept my eyes closed, breathing slow, pretending to sleep. At 2:12, I heard the faintest click, like plastic bending, a soft brush against the wooden surface of the nightstand. Then silence, in the morning. The glass was still full, but the watch, it had logged a perfect 70 BPM pulse for exactly 2 minutes and 41 seconds. No steps, no movement, just a still heartbeat. I checked the sensor logs on my phone. The watch had recorded skin contact, consistent and uninterrupted, but I wasn't wearing it. I hadn't moved, and now there was a fingerprint, barely visible, just a smudge on the glass, too small to be mine. I cleaned the surface, reset the watch to factory settings, and stored it in a drawer. But the next night, I heard the drawer slide open, just a fraction. The next morning, I found the watch on my wrist. I didn't remember putting it on, and it had data. A full night, heart rate, steps, a small burst of GPS movement, only a few feet, in a straight line from the bed to the closet. I stopped sleeping in my bedroom after that. Kept the watch powered off. Battery drained. Still, once in a while, I find it recharged, on, glowing, and always with fresh data. Pulse, detected. 57 BPM time, 2:33 a.m., steps. 0 movement, none. Location right where I left it, but not worn by me. Now I leave it outside at night, wrapped in towels, sealed in a box, locked. But this morning, the app showed a live connection. Battery, 94%. Worn, yes. Pulse, 62 BPM, location, near you. And then it said something new. A message I've never seen before. User identified. Second profile detected. There's no option to delete the second profile. And every night since, I've stopped sleeping completely, because I keep wondering if it's not tracking me. Who is it tracking, and how did they get so close? It started a few weeks after we moved in. A small place rented, old wood floors, ticking radiators, A single hallway that echoed when you walked too fast. It felt lived in, but not in a warm way. More like someone had left just enough of themselves behind. My partner Mayra was the one who found it. The phone, it was in a drawer by the bed, tucked behind a few faded receipts and some broken rubber bands. An old flip phone, plastic silver, scratched up, dusty screen. No charger. I almost threw it out. But Mayra was curious. She wiped it off and placed it on the windowsill in the bedroom. That first night, we didn't even talk about it. But in the morning, it had moved. Just a little. Turned toward the bed. I figured I had bumped it. That's what I told myself. But Mayra looked at it a little longer than I expected. She didn't say anything. She just nodded once and walked out. Later that day, she bought a charger. When I asked why, she shrugged. I just want to see what's on it, she said. It powered on the moment she plugged it in. Battery full. No SIM card. But somehow, still connected. There were no saved numbers. No messages. But the call log had one entry. Unknown number incoming to 33 a.m. She laughed it off, deleted the log, said it was probably some internal test call, maybe a glitch. That night, I woke up to a voice, soft, whispering. Mayra was sitting on the edge of the bed, phone to her ear, just nodding, saying, hum. Then, okay. Then silence. I asked who it was. She looked at me like I had interrupted something important. Paused for a moment, then whispered, no one. She hung up and placed the phone gently back on the nightstand. It's not important, she said. She didn't sleep after that. The next morning, the call log was gone, wiped clean. But at the bottom of the screen, a notification. New voicemail. When I tried to play it, it said, this number is no longer in service. Mayra stopped using her regular phone after that. She carried the old one instead, started answering it at strange hours, always at night. Sometimes I'd hear it vibrate soft pulsing. She'd walk into the bathroom, close the door. I asked her once if she was okay. She smiled. That soft kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. It's just someone I used to know, she said. But it's a disconnected number, I told her. She didn't answer. The next day, I tried calling the number from my own phone, just in case it showed up in her call history. It didn't even dial. Just an automated voice. The number you are trying to reach has been disconnected. No voicemail, no redirect. Dead signal. I told her again to stop, that it was getting weird. She nodded. That night, I woke up alone. The bed was cold on her side. I followed the sound of her voice. She was sitting on the floor in the living room, legs crossed, phone pressed to her ear. She was laughing, quietly, softly. When she saw me, she held up a hand almost like she wanted me to stop. I'll call you back, she whispered. Then she hung up. I asked again who it was. Her smile faded. Sometimes, she said, people don't leave just because the line goes dead. She started getting tired after that. Pale eyes, sunken. She wouldn't eat, just waited for the call. Sometimes it came once a night. Sometimes 3 or 4 times. She never missed it. She stopped speaking to me altogether by the end of the week. Just listened, and nodded, and whispered, okay. One night, I unplugged the phone, took out the battery, locked it in a box. She didn't even react. She just sat in bed, looking toward the nightstand. At exactly 2:33 a.m., the box began to vibrate. I didn't open it, didn't move. I just watched her. She tilted her head slightly, as if listening, smiled, then whispered, "Yes, I hear you." After that, she never touched the phone again. Didn't need to. She just sat up at 2:33 every night. Eyes wide, listening, nodding, answering. It started when I downloaded one of those sleep tracking apps. You know, the kind that listens while you sleep. Monitors your breathing, your movements, sometimes even dreams if you believe the marketing. I wasn't sleeping well, waking up. More tired than I went to bed. Always with this heaviness, like I hadn't rested at all. So I searched the store, found one with thousands of good reviews, clean interface, free trial. It was called Drift. Simple, white icon, soft blue crescent moon in the middle. At first it worked, sort of. The first few nights it gave me detailed reports, how much I tossed, when I reached REM, when I muttered in my sleep. I didn't even know I did that. It even played back the audio it captured. Mostly just rustling blankets. But one night, it picked up something different. 2:41 a.m., the recording lasted 12 seconds. It was faint at first. A sound like distant breathing. Then, a voice. Not mine. Not even close. A woman's voice. Soft, clear whispering. "It's not time to wake up yet." I don't remember dreaming that. I don't remember hearing anything. But there it was. Saved in the app. Timestamps, file size. Option to share. I played it 5 times. Same message. I showed it to a friend. They said it was probably some weird overlap from another user's data. Maybe a server issue. Or maybe the mic just picked up TV noise. But I live alone, and I don't fall asleep with the TV on. Still, I kept using the app. I wanted to see if it would happen again. The next night, no voice, just silence. But the report said something strange. 2 users detected. Average heart rate, 57 bpm. 2 users. I checked the settings. There's no multi-user mode. The FAQ says the app only records 1 person per device. I emailed support. No response. So, I deleted the app, held the icon, tapped uninstall, gone. I even cleared the cache. Restarted the phone. Did everything right. That night, I slept poorly. Tossed, turned, strange dreams. But in the morning there it was. The icon. Same white square. Same blue crescent. Drift. I stared at it. I hadn't reinstalled it. And yet, it was there. I opened it. It was already running. It had recorded. Playback available. The latest file was 3:07 a.m. I didn't want to listen, but I did. It was the same voice, same calm whisper. "Don't delete me again." I felt cold. A strange kind of stillness around me. I went to app settings again. Deleted it. Manually. This time, checked app history, storage, background processes. Gone. I even downloaded a different cleaner app to wipe any traces. That night, I left my phone in the kitchen. Face down, on airplane mode, still. In the morning, it was in my bedroom. Screen lit. App open. 1 new recording. No timestamp this time. Just labeled, "Hello." I tapped it. This time, the voice was closer. Clearer. "Why are you pretending you don't want me?" I threw the phone across the room. It shattered the screen. Left it face down on the carpet. And still. The next morning, the screen was whole. The app was still there, and now it doesn't need to record. Now it speaks when I close my eyes, each night, just before I drift off. That same voice, sleep well, I'll be watching. It started on a quiet Thursday night. I'd just gotten home late from work. The kind of tired where your muscles ache a little, and everything feels like static. I made some toast, left the lights dim, and turned on the old TV in the corner of my apartment. I only ever use it for background noise, usually nature documentaries or old sitcoms I've seen 100 times. That night I flicked through a few channels, static, infomercial, rerun, and then something strange. It was a live feed. No title, no network logo, just a camera view of a room. At first, I didn't recognize it. The lighting was a little off, washed out and grayish, but the angle was familiar. A bed, a small wooden desk, a tall window with a cracked blind, and a mirror crooked above the dresser. It was my bedroom, exactly as I had left it. But I wasn't in it. I was in the living room, staring at my own room on the screen. I stood up, walked slowly down the hall, pushed open the door. Empty, still. Everything where it should be. I looked around for a camera. Nothing. I turned back toward the TV. The feed was still running, but now the closet door was open. I didn't leave it that way. I turned back. To the actual room, the closet was still closed. My heart was beating a little faster now. I sat down, turned off the TV, decided I'd just imagined it. Maybe it was a weird broadcast. A prank. The next night, I didn't turn the TV on at all. But just before I went to bed, I walked past it. It turned on by itself. No sound, just that same live feed. My bedroom again, but this time I was in it, lying on the bed, sleeping. But I hadn't gone to sleep yet. I was still in the hallway, watching myself on the screen. I stood there, frozen, and then, on the screen, the sleeping version of me opened his eyes. Just a little, just enough, to look at the camera. Not fully awake, not blinking, just looking directly at me. I turned off the TV, unplugged it, left it off, and this time, I slept on the couch. In the morning, I checked the bedroom. Everything untouched. The closet door still closed. Mirror crooked. But the TV was warm, even though I had unplugged it. Later that day, I had a friend come over. I didn't tell them everything. Just said the TV was acting weird. They turned it on, flipped through the channels. Nothing strange, no live feed, no static, just normal programming. I tried not to sound crazy, but every time I was alone, it would come back. Never during the day, only after 2 a.m. Always the same. My bedroom in real time. Eventually, I stopped going in there. I slept on the couch full time. Stopped using the TV, but it didn't matter. Because 2 nights ago, the screen showed something else. Still my room, but someone was in it. Not me, not anyone I knew, just a figure. Standing at the foot of the bed, motionless, watching. They stood there for the entire night. I never saw them move. In the morning, the screen was blank. I gathered every bit of nerve I had and went into the room. It was empty. No signs of entry. Windows locked, closet shut. But on the floor, right where the figure had stood, were two faint footprints. Bare, damp, facing the bed. I got rid of the TV the next day. Threw it out completely. Didn't sell it. Just wanted it gone. And for a while, things felt normal. Until last night, when I got a notification on my phone. It was from a media app I didn't remember installing. It said, "Your live feed is now available." There was a thumbnail, a still frame, of my bedroom, from the same angle. But this time, I wasn't in it. And the bed was empty. But the closet door, it was slowly opening. It started with something small, a whisper, the kind of sound you're not sure you really heard. Mara, my roommate, had been complaining about her phone. Nothing major at first, just glitches. The screen would flicker sometimes when it dimmed, especially when she wasn't touching it. Apps would freeze. Battery dropped too quickly. She thought maybe she needed a new one. But then she said something strange. "I hear it when the screen goes black." I remember looking up from my laptop. "Hear what?" She blinked. "Just a voice. It whispers something." I waited for her to laugh. She didn't. Instead, she looked down at her phone and turned it off. Let the screen go dark. She stared at it, silent. Then, she tilted her head slightly. "There," she said. "Did you hear that?" I didn't, but she looked pale. The kind of pale that only comes from real fear. She started turning off the screen more often after that. Deliberately, like she wanted to prove something. And every time she did, she'd freeze listening. Sometimes she would whisper back, just a few words. "Who are you? What do you want?" And sometimes, she just nodded. I stopped asking questions. One night I walked into the room and found her staring into the phone's black screen. Completely off. No light, just her reflection. She was crying, but not blinking, not moving. I reached out and touched her shoulder. She jolted like she hadn't noticed me there. Then she turned the phone over, face down. I told it to stop, she whispered, "but it doesn't listen." I asked her what it said. She shook her head. "It waits, every time, until the screen goes dark. Then it speaks." "Speaks how?" "Not out loud," she said. "Inside, just inside." The next day, she bought an old flip phone. No internet, no apps, just calls and texts. She stopped using her smartphone completely, put it in a drawer, and taped it shut. I thought maybe it was over. But then I started hearing it too. Not on my phone, on my laptop. When the screen went dark for sleep mode, I was working late. Lights off, just a desk lamp, and the soft rain tapping the window. I paused for a moment, got up for water. When I came back, the screen was black. As I reached to touch the trackpad, I heard it. Just for a second, a whisper, not a word, not even a breath. More like the idea of a voice, right behind the silence. I turned the screen back on. Nothing. It happened again the next night. And the next, always in that in-between moment, when the light fades and the screen turns black. I told Mara. She just looked at me. "I think it follows the light," she said. She started unplugging anything with a screen, wouldn't sit near TVs anymore. Turned off the microwave screen with tape. She even stopped looking at mirrors. "Reflection holds it longer," she said. "It's not just the black. It's the space behind it." I tried to laugh it off. Tried to remind myself it was irrational. Just stress. Just stories. Just overworked brains hearing things in silence. But now, it happens even when I close my eyes. I'll be lying in bed, no screens on, nothing glowing. And in the dark behind my eyelids, I hear it, whispering, soft, persistent, like it's trying to find the right words. Last night, it finally said something I understood. It said, "Don't look away when the light goes." Mayra hasn't spoken for days. She sits in her room with the light always on, blinking slowly. No screens, no reflection. She won't talk. She just stares into the wall. Sometimes, in the corner of my eye, I see her mouth moving, whispering back, and tonight, my screen flickered. Even now, as I write this, I can feel it, waiting, just past the glow of the monitor, right behind the light. I check my sleep data more than I probably should. I use a wearable, the kind that tracks how long you slept, your heart rate, oxygen levels, even GPS during the night. I'm not obsessed. I just like the idea of knowing what my body is doing while I'm not awake. Makes me feel in control, I guess. One morning, I woke up feeling oddly refreshed. That was strange enough. Usually, I wake up tired. I'm a light sleeper, always have been. But that day, I felt rested. Really rested. Like I'd been out cold for hours. I opened the sleep app. It said I fell asleep at 11:42 p.m. Woke up at 6:13 a.m., solid 7 hours. REM cycle looked perfect. But something else caught my eye. The GPS data. Usually, it just draws a tiny blue dot over my house and stays there the whole night. But not this time. The line moved. Not far, just a mile or so. But it moved. There was a trail. I zoomed in. The line left my street, took a sharp turn, then curved off into a wooded area I'd never been to. Ended near a small structure. No address, just blank coordinates. At first, I thought it was a glitch. Maybe the GPS bounced. But I checked the data more closely. It wasn't a signal drift. There were consistent timestamps movement, speed, even slight elevation changes. My body, or at least the device tracking it, had traveled there sometime around 2:14 a.m. and returned around 4:03. I have no memory of it, nothing. My apartment door was still locked from the inside, keys in the bowl, shoes neatly by the door. I even checked the security camera in the hallway. No footage of me leaving, but the GPS, it was exact. Out of curiosity or maybe something closer to compulsion, I looked up the coordinates on my computer. It showed a satellite view, forest, some dirt, and what looked like a small, old building. Could have been a shed, maybe an abandoned cabin. Barely visible beneath the trees. I stared at the image for a while. Then I did something I probably shouldn't have. I drove there. It was late afternoon, still light out. The path wasn't on any official road maps, but I found a trail, just like in the GPS logs. After 10 minutes of walking, I saw it. A small wooden structure, half collapsed, door hanging off its hinges. No lights, no signs, no reason to exist. I stepped inside. It was cold, despite the warmth of the day. The floor was uneven, leaves scattered across rotting boards. It smelled like soil and something faintly metallic. I looked around and saw a corner of the room where the dust had been disturbed. Something had laid there recently. The imprint was the shape of a body, my size. Next to it, something else. A small device, same brand as mine. Another sleep tracker. Still blinking, still warm. I didn't touch it. I just stood there, frozen. Then I saw the marks on the wall, scratched in numbers. A list of dates and times. They matched mine, down to the minute. Except, there were more dates I hadn't lived through yet. Entries logged days, even weeks into the future. Each followed by coordinates. All different, all unfamiliar. I left, didn't take anything, didn't say a word. I reset my tracker that night, wiped it clean, turned off GPS. But the next morning, the app had restored itself, and a new location was already waiting. Blank coordinates, tonight's date, timestamp 2:17 a.m., and one new note under it. Sleep expected. Will guide you. It started with something small. Just a voice. Barely audible. So soft I thought I imagined it. I'd bought a smart speaker for the kitchen. One of those basic models. Voice-activated decent sound. Connects with your phone. I didn't even use it that much. Mostly for music when I cooked, or reminders while working. One night, I was alone, sitting on the couch with the TV off, scrolling on my phone. The room was quiet, and then I heard it. My name soft, from the kitchen. I paused. Waited nothing. I thought maybe it was the neighbor. Thin walls, could have been the hallway. I went back to scrolling. A few minutes later, there it was again. My name, this time a little clearer. Almost like a whisper, but through something. Like a speaker with the volume turned all the way down. I walked into the kitchen. The speaker's light was off. Not glowing, not listening. I asked it to stop. No response. I unplugged it. Went to bed. The next day, I didn't plug it back in. But later that night, same time, almost to the minute, I heard it again. My name, from the kitchen. Except this time, the speaker wasn't plugged in. I stood completely still. It said it again, softer, not demanding, just aware. I checked everything. The plug, the outlet. Even opened it up with a screwdriver the next morning. No battery. No backup power. Nothing that would allow it to function without being connected. Still, I put it away in the drawer. Far in the back. But that night, it didn't stop. It started earlier, around 1:15 a.m. My name, said slowly, gently, again and again. Always from the drawer. Always from the speaker. Sometimes with a breath in between. Sometimes drawn out like it was tasting the syllables. It didn't speak any other words, just my name. But over time, the tone began to change. At first it sounded neutral, then curious, then something closer to familiarity, like it had learned something, like it recognized me. One night I recorded the audio, used a voice recorder, left it in the drawer. The next morning, the file was there. I pressed play. There was silence for a while, then static, then a voice, my name, followed by a second voice, fainter, not mine, not the speaker's usual tone. It just whispered, "We know now." I deleted the file, threw the recorder out, took the speaker and buried it in the woods behind my apartment. Didn't tell anyone, just wanted it gone. And for a few days, it was quiet, normal. Then last night, while lying in bed, my phone lit up on the nightstand. Bluetooth connected to a device I didn't recognize. It said, Speaker 04, connected. I didn't even have Bluetooth on. And as soon as I read it from the living room, I heard my name, same voice, same tone, but now it wasn't waiting for me to respond. It was already speaking again, saying something longer. A sentence this time. I didn't catch all of it. Just the last part. We'll speak until you answer.